All right, the first project we're going to start with is a squirrel house slash picnic table for them. I have two squirrels that are always at the tree outside of my window. I named them Alan and Steve, and I want to give them somewhere cozy to stay when it's sunny out, and a nice little table where I'll put some nuts and let them enjoy a nice little lunch in the sun. I already cut the pieces out. We'll need to start with a base. The base is going to be two parts. The front part that's a little bit wider is going to be where the picnic table rests. There will be a walkway up to the front door, just the front panel. You'll need two sides and of course a back. And I am gonna make a top out of thinner material, so I haven't cut that yet. And then just some 1-inch scraps. I made a bunch of these that I'll be using for the table. Might cut these down to a 1/2 inch. We'll see how it all fits. But that's pretty much what you need. I'm gonna leave dimensions out. If you wanna know what they are, just let me know down below and I'll let you know. Let's go ahead and start working on this. All right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and put some oil on this, and I'll have pictures of all of these projects up on my Instagram at Zuko Builds. But just a quick breakdown of everything I did for this squirrel house and picnic table. To start, I drilled out 2.5-inch holes on the two sides and the front, just in different locations, so they have a few different entryways, and 2.5 inches is gonna be plenty. They squeeze into pretty tight holes and crevices. The reason I didn't attach the front permanently is so that one, I can get it mounted onto the tree. You saw me drill the 4 holes. I'll just be popping in a few screws onto my tree. And I'm gonna just pop this guy in. It's a nice tight friction fit. And just put some screws along the sides. That way, if I ever do have to take it down, if something breaks or if I just want to make it prettier, I can just pull this out, take out the screws obviously, pull that out, and I'm good to go. The base, we'll move on to the base. I was gonna use dowels, but I figured pocket holes and screws would do the job. So I just went ahead and pocket screwed the wider portion here at the front to the rest of the base with some glue that's gonna be plenty strong for little squirrels. The table, when I was cutting out the holes for the sides and the front, I was stacking the cutoffs like that. I was gonna make a proper picnic table, but I thought, hey, let's make it a little modern. This looks kind of cool. So I had some 2-inch dowels left over from some scraps. So I thought I'd make that the base and just cut out a thin piece of plywood and put it on top like a modern table. If you want to add some benches, you can. I don't know, they're not gonna sit on it. If anything, they're just gonna hop on the table and eat the nuts that I put up there. So do what you want. I'm not gonna bother. They have a whole house that is made of them. They should be thankful. Of course, sanded all the sharp edges. I know that they're squirrels and they're used to running through bushes and trees, but let's give them something soft and cozy to rest on and to have a nice little lunch on. But that's about it for this. I'm gonna move on to the next one. All right, it's a new day. I just got off work again. I have the fan on, so don't mind if there's a little bit of a buzzing in the background. But I have some scrap hardwoods here. This is walnut, red mahogany, and some poplar. You can make a simple cutting board, but there's plenty of videos out there on making different cutting boards. You've seen it all. Instead, I'm gonna cut these into strips and make a clipboard, something really useful if you're in an office or if you just like jotting things down throughout the day and need something solid to write on. We'll go ahead and make a cool, simple, yet very clean clipboard. So I'll go ahead and cut these into strips and I'll show you the next step. All right guys, I have my strips cut out. I usually leave dimensions out of this, but since I don't know if there's a general size guide for clipboards, I made mine 14 inches long by 9.5 inches wide. I feel like that's plenty of space. So I have my poplar here, a few strips of red mahogany and walnut, and a thicker piece of walnut. You can kind of see what it's going to look like once it's all glued together. All right guys, the next thing to do is to glue this all up. I am gonna let them sit overnight. It's well over 100 degrees all week here in LA. We have a crazy heat wave. It's super humid, so just to make sure it's nice and strong, I'm gonna let this sit for the rest of the night, and we'll come back to it tomorrow, clean up the glue, squeeze out, plane it down to 1/2 inch thick, maybe a little bit thicker than 1/2 inch, and I'll show you what we do from there. So I have these clamped up, all glued up already. Like I said, I'm gonna let these sit overnight, but before I call it a night, I just wanna let you know that you will need clipboard hardware. This is just the top piece that you see. You probably can't really see it. It's just the hardware that actually clips the paper to the clipboard. You can buy these on packs on Amazon for really cheap. I used to make these. I actually still have these on my Etsy shop, so I always keep packs of these lying around in the shop. So this might be the only thing you'd have to buy for these scrap projects, but they're super cheap. They come in 2 days if you get it from Amazon. So pick some of these up and make a bunch of clipboards. People love them. It's hot, I'm tired, I'm going inside, having a beer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. So this is all dry. I let it dry overnight. It's now the evening, just got off of work. It was 112 today here in LA. So I am exhausted. I've been working in the shop all day. So yeah, I'm exhausted. But this is nice and dried up. I'm just gonna go ahead and chisel off some of the bigger chunks of glue, and then I'll pass it through my planer to get it to a little bit thicker than 1/2 inch. Then there's only a couple more things to do before this is ready. So I'll go ahead and start with the glue and go from there. All right, this is playing down all the way down to a little bit more than 1/2 inch. Ever so slightly. So now I want to figure out which side is going to be the top or the front and the back. So this has a little knot here. I kind of like it though. I like little characteristics like that. This also has a chip here. I think I'll go with this side. I kind of like these characteristics, and I want this to be my top. So to give it a little bit of character, so it's not just a square, I'm gonna come in, measure 2 inches from the edge on both sides, and then 2 inches down on both sides. Or actually, we'll mark it on the edge because we're gonna connect these two. Just grab the square so I can carry this side up to the end. Okay, then just take a straight edge and connect your 2 marks. It'll probably be hard to see on camera, but they're here and here. So I'm just gonna take a little rule and then make a line connecting these 2 points together, and we'll cut this off. We'll do that on both sides. So 1 dot there, 1 dot there, and cut that off. That'll give us just a nice shape, and of course we'll round everything over, but I'll take this over to the miter saw, find that angle, and then cut that out. All right, so this is the shape we end up with. It's something just a little bit cleaner than a square board. Next, we need to figure out where we're gonna set this guy here, the hardware to make it a clipboard. I know that I'm making these for your standard letter size papers, so that's 8 inches across by 11 inches tall. So to give some wiggle room, I'll just come up to a foot, 12 inches right there. Let's see, where is my long square? Then I'll go ahead and just carry that across, and then we can find exactly where we're gonna fit this. Something like that. So I know that if I'm up here, that'll be plenty of space to have a full letter size piece of paper here. And just to make things easy, I'm gonna measure either side and see where we're at. So we're at 2 1/4 there. And 2 1/4 there. Okay, so that's perfect. So 2 1/4 on either side gives me exactly center. Beautiful. Next, I'll just trace out these holes. Actually, I won't even trace them out. I'm gonna grab a center finding bit, drill out the holes, take this off, sand this all down. All right guys, there you have it. I was gonna do a few more, but this week flew by so fast. I've been so busy at this other shop, and I actually have to rush and finish up a couple smaller orders. So I'm gonna leave it at those 2, but those are 2 awesome scrap wood projects you can do. Let me put this down, and hopefully you enjoyed it. It's things that I had lying around the shop. I didn't buy anything. You might just have to buy the hardware for the clipboard. But other than that, use your scraps, clean up the clutter in your shop, and have some fun. So if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. Check me out on Instagram where I post most of my builds at Zuko Builds, and I'll catch you guys next time.